Hey, all you cool cats. Ready for a little fun? That's what I thought. Pop Talk, Scooby-Doo-Wah-Doo-Wah, Pop Talk. The fun never stops, you know. Pop Talk. If you're a nerd or a jock, run, don't just walk. Get ready to rock, you got Pop Talk.
Now, from Funko Hollywood, it's time for Pop Talk.
Hey everybody, it's your pal Funmaker Mike. Here we are with another edition of Pop Talk. You know him from Twisted Sister. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dee Snider.
Great to be here, man. This is like kind of a dream come true, really.
Really?
Yeah, to be immortalized in plastic like this is awesome.
Well, welcome. We're going to ask some really hard-hitting questions.
Go for it.
While we do that, why don't you build
3
a pop?
inches from the floor. Right, well, that wasn't the question.
I can see how this one's going to go. So build a pop while we talk.
You build these things?
Yeah, kind of like the name of the show, Pop Talk. Oh. So you're going to build a pop as we talk, and it can be you, it can be alter ego you, whatever you want.
Wow, okay, all right.
All right, first question. So Funko
Yeah.
is a collectibles company.
Yeah.
Do you, Dee Snider, collect anything?
Yes. Crystal skulls, like different skulls made out of stone, different stones, like, yeah.
Yeah, how
Do you
many?
have any in the shop? I'm new to collecting them. I only have like a half dozen, but my wife was dying. She said, "What am I going to get you for Christmas this year?" And I said, "Another skull." I mean, now I'm the man who has everything, so I need another skull. So skulls, and I like them when they're human size.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's something about when they're actually a piece of carved stone. Is this right for Funko?
Yeah.
That's a human size head. I don't like the small crystal heads. I like the full size skull.
Yeah.
So everybody started thinking differently about Dee all of a sudden. I don't know why I chose the short, tight afro, but I went
You can always trade it. You can do whatever you want while we do. You have all sorts of crazy, interesting jewelry, and I noticed the stuff around your neck. Anything behind that?
Well, just to go, this is, the king of the mic. In my world, I'm king of the mic. I dare anybody to challenge me on that. Wedding band, I've been with my wife 46 years now. And so we renewed our vows a few years ago and got like real rings as opposed to the little pieces of tin.
Yeah.
And the little, wait, is that a diamond? That I had bought originally. This ring matches my wife's eyes, which she thinks is psychotic and sick, but I asked to have it match her eyes. But the thing around my neck that you're asking about, this is such a prized possession. This is, they call it a Lemmy bullet. And Lemmy from the band Motorhead, who I know you have a Funko Pop of.
Yes.
We were friends. When he died, it was rumored that he wanted to have his ashes split up and shared amongst his friends. I never, even though we were friends, you never assumed that you'd be worthy of something so precious. You would think there'd be so many people in front of you. And I know, other friends got them as well, but when the doorbell rang and there was special delivery, got this little box, and I saw the management company's name on it, I knew what it was. I mean, yeah, I was choked up. In not a disgusting way, Lemmy reaching out from the grave, saying, I remember you and you meant something to me. And because Lemmy's was just an incredible being. We could talk about that forever. We went to his memorial service. Everybody was there, Ozzy was there, and Gene Simmons was there, and Triple H was there, and the guys in Foo Fighters and Guns N' Roses, and all these people. You touched so many people, and then there was people like regular people, his family that toured around the world, and Lemmy always invited to every show and always welcomed to every show, and his bootmaker, and they all got up and spoke, and my wife leaned over to me, and she's pretty spiritual, and she said, "I think Lemmy was an angel." And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, listen to these people, they say that they send angels down to earth to help us on our journey. And you hear everybody talking, including you, and Lemmy showed up at a time in your life and helped you with your career and helped these people, every one of them. And he was there for them when they needed an angel to be there." And I said, "So you're telling me that God sent an angel that looked like a biker pirate?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "Would you have trusted an angel in long flowing robes?" I said, good point. So, but Lemmy was that kind of guy, as gruff, as edgy, and you probably got to know him with the Funko Pop. He was just this amazing, brilliant, thoughtful, kind person, you know, under all that. He was just an amazing dude.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's crazy, it's powerful.
I'm still stuck with a little head. Oh, I found the hair. Okay, now we're talking. It's the Mo with a knot on the top.
Getting back to like musical influences and how you got your start in general, is there anything that when you look back like that was really, I'm not trying to give you just the softball version, but is there anything that really influenced you, changed you, made you make that decision?
Well, to be a rock star kind of thing?
Yeah, like what really, what was the turning point? What was the decision?
It was so young and so momentous, but it's a story that's been told by many, but mine's slightly different. And that it was the Beatles, I'm old, yes, the Beatles appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. 70, you know, TV back then was like 3 channels. So 70 million people saw that. Not me, because my father, the crazy cop, had banned television in our house. So because he felt we needed to get back to reading, you know, making models, building puzzles. Mm-hmm. So while the world was being changed by the Beatles, I was building a puzzle. But that said, the next morning I went out to the school to the bus stop, and I remember just everybody was just, I mean, a buzz. I go, what's going on? What's going on? Did you see them last night? The Beatles, the Waddles, the Beatles, the Beatles. What's the Beatles? It's a rock and roll band. Everybody was screaming. And I heard those words, everybody was screaming. And I said, turned to Russell Niederman, who I hated, and said, I'm gonna be a Beatle. I found out you couldn't be a Beatle, but I was 8 years old, and from that moment on, that was it. I am going to be a rock star. Whatever it takes, I will get there, I'll get there, I'll get there. And on one hand, it's really cool to know what you want to do with your life at a young age and always know the mission. On the other hand, it can get pretty embarrassing when you get older and you're working on a loading dock at some department store, you know, like cleaning shit. And they go, so what are you going to do from here? I'm going to be a rock star. You know,
yeah, sure.
Worst thing you can say to a bunch of blue-collar dudes on a loading dock, because that just becomes your nickname, and you're endlessly mocked for, he's going to be a rock star. Hey, rock star, go clean that shit off the floor. You know, so.
Did you ever see those guys from the loading dock again?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. Don't let them tell you, revenge is not sweet. It is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
So my band had gone, you know, whatever, worldwide, and People magazine was doing a feature article on me. So they were like following me. Part of the article was they're following me back to my hometown, back to my high school, where I was just an invisible dude in high school. Nobody knew me, but everybody now remembers me. But trust me, I was the most unpopular guy in the school. This weird dude that wanted to be a rock star. But I enter the school and it's pandemonium. It's like the Pied Piper, camera crew, just kids just follow me down the hallways. We're walking through the halls of the school, documenting all. And as I'm walking down the hall, I see Carl, one of the guys from the loading dock, sweeping the floor. And I went, Carl, it's me, rock star. And he's like, yeah. I said, I'm a rock star. He goes, yeah. I go, so how you doing, man? I was in there leaning on the broom, and I said, listen, man, I gotta go. Because, you know, People magazine, I love to sit and chat, shoot the the old days on the loading dock, but I gotta go be a rock star. Yeah, so that was, I met one of the guys. That was great.
God.
Ooh, this doesn't go at all.
Well, there you go. Were your parents supportive of your music career?
Absolutely not. Mom was a church lady, Dad was a cop, and they thought I was, you know, if you remember the video from many years ago, you are destroying your life with that garbage.
Yeah.
That was literally, that video, for We're Not Gonna Take It, that whole opening scene was quotes from my dad. The biggest one being, what do you want to do with your life? He used to scream that at me.
What do you want to do with your life?
Endlessly, because, you know, because all I would ever say is, I want to be a rock star. And that just infuriated him, because you can't, you know, dreams don't come true. Depression babies, you don't get anywhere in this world without blood, sweat, and tears. And he was right about that. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on the road to getting there, but dreams can come true. And believe me, no one's more stunned than Dad. But yeah, they did everything to stop me, and they would I remember at one point, they decided that they would ground me so I couldn't go to rehearsals. So I couldn't rehearse the band, wasting my time. So I took up jogging. And which my father thought, well, that's a good thing. He's going to exercise. That's great. So every night I would go out for a jog, and I'd run to the rehearsal. Yeah. And then I'd rehearse with the band, and then I'd jog home a couple hours later. He goes, "How was your run, son?" "It was good." "Woo, worked up a sweat, Dad." But they couldn't stop me. But yeah, they really did try to do everything they could for my own good. They thought it was, they thought they would do me a favor, crushing my hope and dreams,
Were your parents able to see your success?
Yes, they were. My dad's 92 now. He's
okay.
My mom lived to be 85 or something like that. So yeah, they did, and that was like a shock to the system. To turn on the TV and see their kid on TV. Because that's what he did. Come home, long day, out of the job. And then turn on the TV and to see his son on there. But it was later that things that I did that really blew their mind and I made them proud. Because the Twisted thing, was kind of a freak show. So so they were proud, but with an asterisk. Yeah. But I wrote two things. One, I was on Broadway and Rock of Ages. And they like going to theater, to shows. Yeah. So when they got a picture of them standing in front of the theater on Broadway, and it's starring Dee Snider, and they're just standing there, and they're so proud. And that was the first time I really sensed wow, I really did something that made them want to brag about it. And then the other thing was I wrote my wife told me to write her a Christmas song one year, many years ago, and I told her she's insane. I said, A, I'm a heavy metal guy. B, Christmas songs are so genre specific. How often do you hear a new Christmas song that sounds like Christmas? Most of them are bull. Yeah. So I got an idea, and I wrote my wife a Christmas song. I couldn't even sing it. I hired some session people, recorded it, and gave it to her for Christmas as a gift. That was it. Cut to several years later, phone rings, and an engineer was on the session, says, "You sitting down?" And I said, "Yeah, what's going on?" He goes, and I was really in the doldrums of my career at that point. Left Twisted, grunge came in, which was a cure for hair metal. So nobody was buying what I was selling anymore. And he said, "I played Celine Dion, your wife's Christmas song. She wants to record it." So the first thing I said was, "Did you tell her who wrote it?" He said, "Not yet." I said, "Do not tell her Satan wrote her Christmas song. Just put it on the record." So she recorded it, put it on the album, and it is the biggest selling holiday record in history. It's 14 million copies. So we call the house that Saint Celine built, and anybody speaks ill of Celine Dion, you have to deal with me. It's the one song I never wrote for commercial use or never wrote intended to release for sale, and it'll probably ultimately make me more money than anything I've ever done.
Family and friends, it's good to be here again.
So your Twisted persona, right? That you, as the front man, did that help or hinder your career afterwards? Or did people kind of pigeonhole you and say, this is just this guy, he can only do this, he can only be in these type of roles or these type?
I'll be totally honest. Why lie? You can't lie when you're at Funko.
Yeah, no.
You gotta tell the truth. There was this point where, we were so crazy and street and we were just this bar band that, we play in these biker bars, and I was just looking for a fight, and I get in one every night. And it started with women's clothing. And I remember when the band, started to record albums and started to go, people just looked at it. It was just so badass and insane, this guy with all this makeup on, and just his hair for days. And then we broke, And I remember looking at the cover of the Stay Hungry album, which is like the most, and they call it iconic now, 80s icon, Dee Snider. But within like a year's time, that cover went from being cool to being like cartoonish. And nothing had changed other than we had become popular. And now all these kids were getting into the band, young kids and little kids. And I remember getting fan mail. My favorite bands are Kaja Goo Goo, Duran, and Twisted Sister. What? Twisted Sister and Kaja Goo Goo in the same breath? But we had crossed over, which alienated our core audience who thought we had sold out. When we hadn't done anything different than we ever did. It's just suddenly the world became aware of us, and now the hardcore fans felt alienated. So yeah, it becomes, and then the whole music scene. I'm pointing at him because he's from Seattle. It's not your fault, man. Yeah. It's not your fault. I don't blame you for grunge.
Yeah.
And I love those bands, but suddenly nobody was buying what we're selling anymore.
Yeah.
You wake up one day, it's literally like you get it's like, not literally, but it's like it says, yeah, we're not performing like you. We're not singing like you. We're not dressing like you. We're not writing songs like you. Everything you've dedicated your entire life to, nobody's doing anymore. I mean, it got really dark. I remember riding a bicycle to a desk job, answering phones in an office for a couple $100 a week. All right, this is 1992, 91, 92. So it's not that long after the heyday, and people are coming into the office and they're looking at me, sitting at the desk, and they're going, aren't you? And I'm lying because it's so humiliating. I'm so embarrassed. I go, no, I just look like him. They go, and they don't, of course, they can't believe it. Dee Snider's sitting there answering phones in an office. They go, it's uncanny. I go, right? So I had his money. But it was, I went through that, like, it was bad. But came out the other side. I'm doing great, people. And everything turned around. I found new careers in radio and voiceover and acting and all the things that I do to make money. And then then the retro thing started, and suddenly my catalog. I wrote every Twisted Sister song myself. I couldn't give it away in '92. Mm-hmm. I went bankrupt twice, and it was deemed worthless. Worthless. Nobody. I would have taken 10 grand for when I could take it for every song I ever wrote, and I would have had to. It was I was desperate, but fortunately it didn't, because everything turned around, and then people who were in the know. I'm one of those guys who sold his catalog for millions and millions of dollars. Is this tax reasons you do it? It makes sense. And you get it back in 35 years. My kids are already plotting and planning. I'll be gone. But, so like I said, it all turned around. It all came back, but it got seriously dark there.
I'm really interested in that. Like what was the turnaround? Was there a certain event? Was there a decision you made? Was there something where you just said, like I've got to do something different. I've got to make this. I got to do something to get out of this.
Yeah, I'm a Tony Robbins guy.
Yeah. So am I.
Tony's brilliant and was really, and it was actually before that. Well, it was as the band just started to fall apart and everything came apart that I started doing Tony, and he said that everybody. People talk about luck. I don't have luck. I don't get the chance. I don't have the opportunity. And he says there's no such thing as luck. It's opportunity meaning preparedness. Mm-hmm. And he says everybody gets opportunities. Most people just have their blinders on, and they're not hearing it when the opportunity happens. So when someone said, "You got a really great voice. You should think about doing voiceover," I said, "Okay, what do I got to do?"
Yeah. And
I literally, I hit this pavement. I got an agent, and I've been a 6-figure voiceover guy for years. So I've been right now. You can hear me on the Reels Network, the Breaking the Band series. I narrate that. But so I've been, so that was like an opportunity but I had to. Well, first thing I had to do is get rid of my New York accent, because I walked in and everything was coffee. We're going to coffee with my daughter down the, and I had to clean that up. especially when I go in the studio. You're saying, you still sound kind of New York, Dee. Well, no, I clean it up a lot when I go in the studio because you have to. But then Howard Stern, a dear friend for years, he told me I'm amazing on radio. And he said, you should have a show. And I literally went out and he got me an agent at Don Buchwald and Associates. He got an agent for me. And I sat down with them. They said, listen, yeah, you got a good voice and yeah, you're good on the radio, but you don't just walk into a 6-figure gig. It's a craft. You, like anything, you got to master that craft. And I said, what do I got to do? And I got it like, it was a Sunday night metal show out on the east end of Long Island. I was getting paid $3.20 an hour. I did everything myself, ran the board, did the ads, talked to the record companies during the week. And I had this show 2 hours a week, and that's where I started, where I learned how to be an air personality. Now I've been doing it like over 30 years. I've got a syndicated show called House of Hair. It's been on 26 years now. And I've done mornings, I've done nights, I've done satellite. I've had successful shows, but had to just see the opportunity and say, okay, I'm gonna figure this out, and accept that it's just not gonna be handed to me. I'm gonna have to prove myself. And, and fortunately I did.
Here's one for you. Your testimony in the 1985 Senate hearing regarding music censorship was pretty significant. What was it like to have to switch gears from making music to having to defend your art?
When I look at footage of me walking into that room that day, I go, how did you walk with balls that big and pants that tight? I mean, first of all, how did you manage to actually get in the room? Because the cockiness, the self-assuredness, I was in my 20s and I marvel at it. I would do it again in a heartbeat, but I'm just stunned. But it was the ego, that I felt like I was being asked to carry the flag into battle for rock and roll. And when they asked me to come and testify. And I also knew they made a huge mistake asking Dee Snider. They saw my pictures and figured he's an idiot. They had me confused with some other 80s rock stars. And they did not vet me at all. If they did, they would have known that I was clean, I was sober, I was reasonably intelligent. I could conjugate a verb and put together a sentence, And I thought I was doing God's work, really. And I went in there and, and history has shown I kicked ass.
Yeah.
I kicked ass. They were not ready for me.
Was there a kind of like, I'm going to show them, because sometimes they probably thought, we're going to bring this guy out and embarrass him so we can get our point across.
I believe that I was representing, I knew that not every rocker in the world was a moron.
Yeah.
I knew that it didn't mean you were evil or anti-religion or uneducated or any of those. Didn't mean any of those things. But they didn't realize that. And I thought by me getting up there, which I did, and saying, all right, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I'm married, I got a kid, I was born and raised a Christian, I still adhere to those beliefs. That people would go, what the? And they did. They went, what the fuck? But the unfortunate thing was because I always talked openly about who I was, but it was the first time people heard it on a grand scale, and the rock audience was like, whoa. We thought he was a crazed animal. What's the deal? The guy with the bone? He's like really smart. What's up? And he doesn't get high. And it was very disappointing to see the lack of support I got. And for a while there, I definitely felt like the community had turned on me, other bands and fans, because I wasn't, I don't know what the word I used, but I certainly wasn't going to change myself at all. But it was very disappointing to realize that people were turned off by me being smart and sober, But as the years went by, it's become part of what makes me, and people have come to respect and understand it. And it's what got me into radio. It's got me into a lot of things, because people, when they saw me testify, so many people said, when I saw you that day, I realized there was more to you than just, we're not gonna take it. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but and that actually, as time went on, opened a lot of doors for me.
Wow. Good stuff. Besides music, when you were a kid, what other hobbies? Like, did you have any?
These aren't like Mr. Potato Head. You don't put big lips on or anything?
No, but I think you can put some accessory there somewhere.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
Oh, there's a beard. Looks like there's a hole for a beard.
Yeah, there is. There's a little goatee in here somewhere.
I don't want to do a goatee. I want to put like, like a number one hand on the chin or something like that. So you were saying, sir?
I was saying, did you ever have any other hobbies as a kid other than the music, or were you all in on music?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just.
I got this way of making my hobby my living, my job. Even when I, like motorcycles. I started, doing charity rides and became the spokesperson, a national spokesperson for the March Times Bikers for Babies. And then it just all of a sudden became like more than just going for a ride with friends. It was like, okay, riding with a purpose and riding with an event. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I'm really proud of the work I've done for charity with motorcycle riding and things like that. But I always have a way of somehow turning it into a hobby into a job.
Right.
And I just, my whole life was dedicated to rock and roll. I was a good athlete as a kid. My father was devastated that I didn't use my natural talents as a baseball player. For some reason, a lot of rock stars were baseball players.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. But he didn't talk to me for like a couple of years. It was like, tell Dee to pass the salt, one of those kind of deals, because he was pissed that I quit baseball.
Yeah.
To be in a rock band, he just could not understand the idea of that, just throwing your life away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never really had any hobbies.
So all the bands like Rat, Poison, all of that that was like early 80s. So those were all inspired by you guys and Kiss and...
I can't say they were inspired by us
Motley
because
Crue.
we weren't known. Yeah. We weren't. I mean, there was like a tape exchange thing. There was an awareness when we first came out to LA and performed. I think the first time was '82 or '83. There was. I remember meeting Vince, Neil, and they were very aware of Twisted Sister. We were sort of this legendary band, and there was one out here, which is Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
They were another band that came out of the early '70s glitter scene, and we're trying to make it. There's a great documentary on Randy Rhoads now that's out, really worth watching. But a lot of it's about his time in Quiet Riot. And you see, and me and Rudy have spoken about this. We kind of mirrored each other. East Coast and West Coast, both coming out of the glitter era dying out, and yet still carrying the torch through the *70s. For spandex and platform shoes, and when nobody was really doing it. Kiss was doing it, but the rest of that whole scene, they were like a one-off, and it took Quiet Riot until the early '80s to get signed, just like us.
Hey, what band or musician would we be really surprised that you love and listen to that we'd be like shocked?
I love 50s doo-wop. I love Motown, Stax, R&B stuff from the early '60s and '50s. As a matter of fact, when I got offered the job with Twisted Sister, the same time I was offered to join a '50s band called the Dukes. Mm-hmm. They were everybody remembers a band called Sha-Na-Na.
Yeah.
They were but they were already a Sha-Na-Na. And these are guys I went to high school with, and they were living, they had the greased hair and the DAs and the leather jackets, and they were working all the time, they were making bank, playing all these 50s tunes. And then Twisted Sister called at the same time, and I said, do I join the 50s band or do I join this glittery glam band retro thing? And I thought there was more of a future, plus didn't have to cut my hair. Bonus, I didn't want to have a DA at that time. So but I love R&B, Stax, and Motown for sure.
You were voted one of the top 100 metal vocalists of all time. You know that, right?
Yeah, not high enough on the list, though. It's very frustrating.
What number? Do you remember?
I don't know. It's embarrassing. The embarrassing part is not that you're like not as high as you think you should be, but when you see who's in front of you, you go, fucking crush that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you go, what the Like Bon Jovi, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear. I give Bon Jovi a lot of and my wife said to me, John has never been anything but nice and respectful to you. You're just jealous that he's handsomer and more popular. And I had to say, you are correct. I have a no Bon Jovi thing on my helmet, on my motorcycle helmet. So I bust his chops a lot. But that like would stand studying me at every bar club show in New Jersey and just, making notes, okay? And so they said, what? I mean,
and now he's up on the list.
He's ahead of me on the list, so that gets frustrating. So it's nice to be acknowledged, but you're never satisfied with your position.
I feel you.
You do?
What do you think about the future of metal now? Like, where are we going? Are we going anywhere?
I am the voice for metal, always have been, just a huge supporter of it in every form. And it always frustrated me. It's been going on for years. There would be this sort of infighting amongst a small segment of the music world, and we'd be fighting about what's true metal, what's false metal, what's hardcore, what's hair, what's this, what's that. And I mean, the show Headbangers Ball was actually one of my creations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was originally called Heavy Metal Mania. I'd called MTV when they said they were cutting back on metal, and I said, look, just give us our own show. And they said, well, if you'll host it, we'll do it. So they named it Heavy Metal Mania. I did it for a year and a half.
Longest videos ever on Heavy Metal Mania's Measure of Metal, Thursday night at 10, 9 Central on MTV. Watch it!
And it was like one of the top rated shows they had. And then I asked to be paid, and they go, what? Dee, this is such a great form. Oh, f you. Give me money. And so I left, and then they paid somebody, Ricky Rackman, to come in. But I've just always been a fan. And when I hear people saying metal is dead, rock is dead, it just angers the hell out of me. It just seems so irresponsible. Gene Simmons, in an article in GQ said, don't even bother to pick up a guitar to young people. And I said, how can you? We're supposed to encourage them. We're the elder statesmen of rock. And just because it's changed, just because it's mutated, if he got out of his mansion and went to a club or a small theater or to a metal show, a festival, you see not only passion, not only bands that are playing for one reason, because there's no money in it anymore.
Yeah.
I wanted to be rich, famous rock star. And it was that order. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I was a poor kid. I want to be famous. How am I going to get there? I really like rock and roll. Okay, I'll be a rock star. If I was really good in basketball, I probably would have gone that path. So rich, famous rock star. But now they don't even think, they're just hoping to make enough money to get to the next show. So why are they doing it? Because they truly love it. It's how I started out. You do it for nothing, okay? And the fans, so they're passionate. The fans know every word. They're passionate. Thankfully, my daughter and my kids are metalheads, and they've dragged me to so many shows, so I've gotten to really experience that there's a new scene, a younger scene, and it may not have appealed to the older fans. They don't like the Cookie Monster vocals. They have a million reasons why they don't like it. But the fact is, don't say rock and roll's dead. Don't say heavy metal's dead. Just go see some of these bigger, newer metal bands, and you'll just see them filling arenas. Just because you don't know them doesn't mean the music died. Mm-hmm. It's just other people listening to it now.
All right, well, I think we should end on that and start with the rapid fire fun.
Go.
What's your favorite cartoon growing up as a kid?
Bugs Bunny. It is, and of course the Roadrunner cartoons, which the in our videos, which the Senate said was violent.
Yeah.
Was just, we used to just watch Roadrunner and Looney Tunes on a loop on the tour bus. And all those gags, a father being dragged down the stairs, swinging into the wall and smashing, getting hit with the door. It was all just stuff out of the, Wile E. Coyote getting kicked by the Roadrunner, just put into a rock video.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why that Nita Meyer guy, right?
Yeah, Mark Metcalf.
Yeah, I love that, but what was I gotta know, how did you find him? Why was he picked?
Well, okay, so I'm a huge Animal House fan.
Yeah, okay.
And I wrote that, the video was my idea, and Marty Collins, the director, and I wrote it. So Marty Collins, to his credit, and we're still really good friends to this day. When he saw that I had a clear vision, rather than get into an ego thing with me, I'm the director, and he said, work with me side by side on this video. What do you see? Down to what food's on the table. It's meatloaf. carrots. It's like the most lame. Anyway, but and so we went through it. So he said, so who do you see like as the father? And I said, well, have you seen Animal House? You know the Nita Meyer guy? I said, someone like that intense anger, that's because it's based on my father. And I said, if we could only get somebody like that. And he goes, why don't we get him? What's he doing? Working on a cure for cancer? Nobody had even seen him since the Animal House movie had disappeared. So like a coach ticket and $1,000, he was flying to LA to be in the Twisted video. And so they were sending an intern to go pick him up. I said, no. I'm picking up Nita Meyer. I got to pick him up. So there I am at LAX, and I'm walking around, I'm looking, and all of a sudden I hear, are you looking for me, mister? That's the same thing he says in the movie. And I turn around, Nita Meyer! I'm like, oh, Like, it was like, to me, he was like the biggest star in the world. So that's how we got Mark Metcalf.
First music you ever bought with your own money?
The Beatles, the Hard Day's Night album was, that was big. It was the soundtrack for the movie Hard Day's Night, but the first album I got.
Favorite song of all time?
Really tough one, but I always go with what flashes in my mind. AC/DC, For Those About to Rock.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Gonna go
It's
full
the best song of all time.
Jersey Housewives on you right now. Flip the table, motherfucker.
What place have you always wanted to go, but you haven't traveled to yet that you want to go to? Exotic, wonderful.
Yeah. I'm blessed to have been so many places. But we've got a trip planned. We're going to Egypt. So, and that's actually our next big trip plan. So, yeah, that's high on the list.
First car?
1966, 289 high performance Mustang convertible, pony interior, and I got it for $500 in 1973. Drove it into the ground, sold it for $50, and I can only imagine what the car is, if it exists, what it would be worth today, restored with all those, the high performance engine, the pony interior, the air conditioning, the convertible. But I call it Seabiscuit.
Wow.
Yeah, let's come on, Seabiscuit.
Okay, here's a big one. What's your favorite ride at Disneyland? Answer carefully, because we have Bob Gurr sitting over there. The last remaining Walt Disney Imagineer. I see him sitting over there.
Wow.
At 91, Bob's sitting right back there and designed most of the rides at Disneyland.
I am honored, sir. I am honored. Of course, Space Mountain. I mean, a roller coaster in the dark, plus the whole lead up was, I think, I'm talking to Bob. I think, now that's a standard with amusement park rides where you have like sort of the pre-show experience as you wait online, but you didn't get that from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. What you got when you went on Space Mountain, it was like you were entering the world of space while you waited on this long line forever to finally get onto the ride.
All right, so we are on a show called Pop Talk. Here's your pop, by the way.
This pop pops.
I think there you are.
I think I'm not being self-serving and saying, when you look at the pops on the shelf, especially the rock pops, a lot of them are all black and dark clothes. I got the pink. I got my wife calls that war paint, by the way. She said, you're not wearing makeup. That's war paint. She said, you put it on like it's paint by numbers. You're putting dots on your face and you draw. Anyway, and then the blonde hair. I think you're going to find people going, I don't know who the hell that is, but I'm buying one anyway.
Well, welcome to the Funko family. You've now been officially popped.
Unbelievable.
I
can't wait to head to some conventions and sign some of these things, because your people go crazy.
Yeah, you'll be signing a lot. Welcome to the Funko family. What did you create for your custom pop? What is this?
I'm not sure what it is. I'm feeling there's the Seattle influence that you said you're from Seattle, so I was feeling, I think it's a flannel, I'm not sure. And then it's the Twisted Sister, because the body's a man, but the bottom's wearing a skirt, which I'm very comfortable with. Then the Japanese, what do you call it, kabuki, whatever it is, hairstyle, with the knot on top.
All right, folks. Well, that wraps up another edition of Pop Talk here with our pal Dee Snider. Thank you very much.
Great to be here. Now I'm going shopping.